Okay. Thank you for joining us today, Miss Rebecca. I'm so happy to have you. This is Acorn Life Mastery, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Rebecca Tripp, who is one of our founding members. And we're really excited that she's decided to join us. So I'd like to just kind of start first by Rebecca, since people don't really know you like I do, if you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Um, Hi, everyone. I'm a person who is very, very interested in all things spiritual, transformational. I've been studying consciousness, spirituality, metaphysics for over 50 years now. Now, why did I start to do that? Because I've always been curious about how the world works, what we're doing here as human beings. I've always had those big questions. And I dug and dug until I got a few answers. And um, I've learned that there are a lot of secrets that are kept from us as we go along this journey, only because maybe we're not ready to hear them. But I also believe that we're going through a time of the Great Awakening, and consciousness is shifting. We're going from very matter-based thinking, only believing that the 3D world is what we should be interested in, to accepting that our thoughts and mind are behind everything that manifests into the three-dimensional world. And we're sort of going through a big test now to find ways to prove that to ourselves, is what I've discovered. And I'll tell you a little background on me. I was born in 1946. So when I was graduating from high school and college in the 60s, there really weren't a lot of job opportunities for women in America, believe it or not, the land of the free. We could be secretaries, nurses, um, hairdressers, or we could be stewardesses. And that was the most interesting career for me. So I became an airline stewardess in 1967. And as soon as I did, I started meeting amazing people that became my teachers. First person I met along this journey called life taught me how to use creative visualization. I tried it, it worked so well. I was able to manifest a move from Chicago, windy Chicago, to New York City, where I really wanted to live, very effortlessly. And I realized that was my beginning of the realization that thoughts really are things and we can manifest. So that set me on the path. I just started reading books about it. The first book I read was Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. After I asked this man, which book should I read? And that was one he suggested. So I've been on this journey for a long time. And along the way, I've learned that spiritual healing is real. I had a big test in my mid-20s where a doctor wanted to remove one of my favorite organs. And because he told me I had early cancer. And I relied on trusting God and spirituality for healing. I had an instantaneous healing. And I was able to manifest many interesting experiences in life along the way as I began more and more to realize that we are creating our experiences, our health, everything as we go along with our thoughts. So after my 35-year career as a flight attendant, where I got to explore the world, meet amazing teachers and people all over the world, I retired in 2002 after 9/11. I was actually a Boston-based United Airlines flight attendant during September 11th, 2001. Wow. And I had bid that flight that hit the tower. But at the last minute, I changed my bid. And that kind of rocked me to think that I came that close to being on that unfortunate flight. So I retired a year later. I decided I really didn't like the idea that the government was playing Russian roulette with my body along with everybody else's. So I left. And 2 years after that, I became a Silva Ultramind trainer, teaching people how to get down to that alpha level of consciousness where they can use their minds in a special way in order to manifest, heal themselves, have better relationships, whatever they desire. But you really need techniques in order to be more in control of your mind, I've learned. And that's a very good one. So I trained about 3,000 people all over the country for 5 years. And I was always asked to write a book. My students were always curious as to why I got so interested in things like this. So in 2014, my book came out called Secrets of a Metaphysical Flight Attendant. You can get it on my app or on Amazon. And it's a spiritual memoir. There are 3 husbands in the book. Because I learned amazing things from all of them. They were all very different. One was an international model, and I owned a modeling agency in New York. The other one was a very intelligent entrepreneur, and we had a business out of Newport, Rhode Island. And the third one was a trust fund baby who didn't really care very much for working, but he had a different mindset. And they're all in the book. I learned from every one of them. And so after that, my book came out, and I became a certified life coach under the Tapping into Wealth Coach umbrella, which was put together by Margaret Lynch. And EFT tapping is also a very viable way to shift your consciousness, get rid of post-traumatic stress. They use it a lot for that. But it can raise your energy, your vibration, so that you become a lot more optimistic, and it makes it easier to manifest, because it's all about your mindset, I've learned. If you expect good things to happen, if you expect to be healed, if you expect people to come into your life that are going to be positive and helpful, and you're going to have an interesting experience, you will. And I think all of these concepts that the great metaphysical teachers and gurus have given us over the centuries are very, very valuable right now, because we seem to be in a mass consciousness of, oh my God, COVID-19, lockdowns, businesses can't function, students can't go to school the way they want to. It's all very heavy. But I believe there is always a solution. And even in the midst of living in this kind of hell, if you want to feel like it's that, you can break free and be sovereign, be free. And you can find a way. And that's why I love to teach people how to solve problems using spirituality, metaphysics, and the laws of the universe. Because once you get to the place where you only expect good, because you know that God, the divine, is governing the universe, and God is always good and solving problems, then you can turn your thought away from those negative aspects and neutralize them, melt them away, nothingize them, and solve the problem. And I've experienced it over and over again. I've helped many, many people do that. And I will continue to, because that's my passion.
That's awesome, Rebecca. So, since you've had all this training and all this experience, what is it that drew you to become a founding member with Acorn Life Mastery?
Well, I've known all of you for a while now, and I like the energy of the people that are drawn to Acorn Life Mastery. They tend to be people who want to help other people. They're empathic. One of the things I learned being a flight attendant, there are people that like people, and there are people that don't like people.
Right.
Like you, people who don't like people do not make good flight attendants. Because you have to like people. You're up to your eyeballs in people when you're doing that kind of work. So, but there are other people who really don't care that much about people. They don't mind, in my career as a flight attendant, many times pilots would say, I don't know how you can stand it back there with those people, because they would think more like an engineer. They like the feeling of flying the airplane and which didn't turn me on at all. So I like the fact that they were very good at flying the airplane and got me where I wanted to go and where they wanted to go, but it wasn't my thing. So the thing about Acorn is it attracts people who are life coaches, healers, all kinds of modalities. even authors and entrepreneurs, people that want to do something to help the planet. And when you join something like Acorn Life Mastery, you have a network and support and people that you can go to when you need to find an answer. It's a resource that you might not find in the three-dimensional world. So that's a very good thing, and that's one of the reasons I think these kinds of networks are going to be very, very valuable as we move into this new world where people are becoming less competitive and more cooperative with each other and helping each other
Right.
because we are transitioning.
Yeah, that whole win-win-win scenario. So when you became, one of the things we put through in our process was what we call the 7 Why exercise. And I
Right.
know that you're really about manifesting and bringing a thing. How did that, for you, how did that help you get clarity on your current goal?
Well, my current goal really is just through whatever work I'm doing, there's a selfish aspect to it, in that I'm working on myself. I'm working on myself all the time to have more dominion, more sovereignty. Um, I, I, I don't like fear. I don't like the energy of fear at all, or anger, or the lower emotions. Um, don't don't appeal to me.
Right.
I'm very non-confrontational, I'm sure, but when people want to be nasty, I'd rather neutralize it. And I like always having techniques that I can use in order to keep myself centered. So the why thing for me is all about just working on myself all the time through the work that I do in order to become a better version of myself, which is what I teach people to do.
Awesome. And that is so important, being able to just connect with your why and your whole
Mhm.
purpose, right?
Right. A lot
And
of people don't know their purpose.
right, exactly. And I know that one of the things that we do is like we talk about how we leverage accountability masterminds in order to create and develop future leaders. And I know that you are in a mastermind because you're actually in one that I attend as well. And
Right.
you also lead a mastermind. So one of the things that we do with our mastermind prep is our goal PDCA, which is plan, do, check, adjust. How do you see that for yourself with your personal experience? How is that helping you to get um, more focused on what you're doing, on your goal?
Well, that's one of the big aspects of it, is it keeps you focused. It's very easy to just drift and say to yourself, "Oh, I'll do it, tomorrow or next week," and pretty soon you haven't gotten anything done, and it's a long, long time. I learned by writing a book, which, by the way, only about 3% of all the people who say they want to write a book actually do it, because it's one of those things you can think about it for a long time, but getting it done is a whole other aspect. And so using this mastermind in order to get things done is really, really valuable, because it's not just about daydreaming, it's about taking action and being able to report back to your mastermind group what you've gotten done and be accountable is actually a way to get it done, but much more effectively than if you're trying to do it all by yourself. I think working on your own is takes a lot longer to achieve your goals. That's why people hire personal coaches. I hired a coach when I didn't know how I was going to write my book, but I knew I wanted to write it, but I'm not a writer, so I was kind of stuck. And bingo, when I was talking to my coach in the second month, the light bulb went on and I realized I could do it. And I did.
That's pretty cool. And like you said, with the mastermind helps you, because it's not just about the accountability, but sometimes that mastermind, that fifth element, right? That piece that comes to play, that harmony, where
Right.
you're stuck, and somebody else gives you a suggestion, or, and I think like as a flight attendant, you get this that when we talk about the the goal, the plan, the doing, you're checking, and then you're adjusting. It's kind of like flying an airplane, right? The airplanes are always adjusting, they're course correcting,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and sometimes we have to do that for ourselves, right? We have to course correct what we think we're going to do, or this may work differently, and the mastermind gives you that peace.
Exactly. And the mastermind will actually bring into play almost an external mind that can all of a sudden you get an idea when you're in a mastermind that you never would have thought of on your own. But the group consciousness creates an energy that comes into play, and all of a sudden it's almost like you're feeling like you're getting a channeling or a download, or an insight that's much more than what you alone could create, which is magical. And that's
Exactly.
that's the beauty of the mastermind, and that's why all the successful people that I have read about, they all have masterminds, even if it's with just one other person. But you have to have other people that you brainstorm with in order to figure out what you're doing, because a lot of times you just don't know by yourself whether or not something's going to work or not. But if you talk about it with other people, you get a lot of insight.
Exactly, that's so true. So, what is, we're talking about masterminding goals? What is your goal that you're working on this right now, currently for the month?
Oh, I'm working on, I have a YouTube channel. So I was working this morning on topics for my YouTube videos, and it's called Inner Power with Rebecca Tripp on YouTube. And I also have an app called Inner Power, a free app. So I'm also coming up with more material for my app. I I have videos on it right now talking about spontaneous healing, manifesting, solving problems using metaphysics. I started teaching in 2004, so I've heard a lot of stories from people, and I've experienced a lot of transformational things myself. So I like to share with other people that might not have heard that you can do these things. Or maybe they've heard about it, but they don't know how. A lot of times you need someone to guide you. Yeah. I know when I first was taught when I was 21, um, how to write something down and manifest it, I couldn't believe that no one in college, I went to college too before I became a stewardess, or in high school or in church, had ever told me this, that you can actually manifest. And they always talked about, the things that Jesus did more. I went to a congregational church right through my teen years. It was more like a fairy tale than, but he did say, you can do these things too, and even more. And
Right?
now I understand that he really meant that. And it's true. We can do amazing things, but we have to get rid of fear. We have to get rid of the negative emotions in order to do these things. That's why it's so important to raise our consciousness every day.
I so agree in the vibration stuff. So, let's see. We talked about why. So, why is your like your you got you well, and we'll definitely make sure we include this your free app is Inner Power,
Right.
and then you have your own YouTube channel also called Inner Power,
Mm-hmm.
so people can check that out. Why is achieving your goal important to you?
Achieving a goal,
The goal that you're working on. Why is that important to you?
because I'm passionate about it. I'm very engaged in this topic. I find it, to me, it's an art form. I think metaphysics is the highest art form, because the reality is, I mean, every artist, be they painters, sculptors, writers, think of how many times they say, I can't really take credit for it. It was just, it came through me.
Right.
So once you understand metaphysically how that works, you can do some amazing things. And I just really believe that the time has come for the human race to become more interested in, involved in, and practicing these things. I think planet Earth goes through these phases of dark ages, enlightened ages, dark ages, enlightened ages. And you could call this a dark age, or you could call it the age of enlightenment, depending on what your perspective is. I would prefer to be on the enlightened end of it rather than the dark end where you're looking at, dying of COVID or starving
Right.
to death or something like that. I mean, I think there is always a solution. And I think
Well,
more and more people are going to want to hear how to find a solution.
right, and it's kind of like you had mentioned earlier, it's whatever you're focusing on and what you're putting energy to. So if you're putting your energy towards the darkness, then you're also all you're going to see. But if
Right.
you're putting your energy towards the enlightenment, then you're exponentially increasing that.
Exactly. And that's why I think more people should think about joining communities like Acorn Life Mastery so they can find positive people that are like minded to support and help overcome. Because, I mean, just yesterday, I had phone calls from friends of mine who told me certain friends of theirs don't even want to speak to them anymore. We're seeing a lot of this breaking
Right.
up with families and friendships over different points of view. And really, if you know how to center yourself and you know how to program for a positive experience, many times you can neutralize those kinds of things if you want to. You have to want to, but it certainly makes life a lot easier if you have some techniques on how to do the things like that.
Speaking of techniques, I know we had talked before, and you're going to be offering a free course in our community this Saturday, correct?
That's right. I'm going to, it's called The Secrets of the Silva Ultramind Training. And what I'm going to share with people is some of the secrets about how it works, why it works, things you can do with it. I'll give you a little taste of it. And, the Silva training was put together by a man named Jose Silva. And he started teaching it in 1966. Millions and millions of people all over the planet have been trained to go to the alpha level using these techniques. And so it's very valuable information, and it's a very useful technique. Once you get it, if you ever take a silver workshop, you have it for the rest of your life. I mean, I have friends that call me all the time that took it years ago from me, and they use it every day. Something comes up, like a friend of mine right now is selling his condominium in Boston, and he's been using the technique in order to um, see that definitely a buyer would come along, even though people are fleeing the cities right now. And he got his buyer, in fact, he got it on 11/11,
Cool.
which was a good sign. Yeah. But, it's very useful for a lot of things. And I don't really experience stress the way most people I find get stressed out or they're out of sorts with themselves. Once you learn how to get down to that alpha level on command, you can keep yourself in a state of equanimity that most people can't can't grasp. They're up and down all over the map. It can make them bonkers watching the news or taking on whatever's going on without any way to um, observe it and not let it drive you crazy. Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to your class, your workshop on Saturday. So for people who are watching this, listening, if this you see this before Saturday, make sure you join our free community. We'll have a link provided, and you can join it and take advantage of learning what all Rebecca has to teach us and share with us. And thank you so much, Rebecca. Is there anything else that you would really want to share with our viewers before we end today?
Well, I just like people to know that there's always a solution. That's one of my convictions. And the expression that I have on the back of my business card: if you want to see perfection, change your perception. That's another thing I've learned, is that you have a perception because of the way you view the world. We're all uniquely different. But if you don't like the view, or the landscape, you can always change it if you have the right techniques. And if you talk to someone that can show you how to adjust your thought, or, you know, snap into a place where you'd prefer to be over where you're stuck. You can always get yourself unstuck. So that's some of the stuff I'll be talking about on Saturday and sharing some few techniques.
Awesome. And that's such great advice. Thank you for being here today. And I really appreciate I'm so glad you're a part of Acorn Life Mastery and one of our founding members. I just really appreciate that. And I love having you in my mastermind. Being able to mastermind with you is always fun. For those of you who are listening today, again, this is Acorn Life Mastery, our YouTube channel. We leverage accountability mastermind in order to develop future leaders. We'd love to have you join us. Hope to see you around the corner. And if you haven't liked our channel or subscribed, please do so and hit that little notification bell so when we go live like this, you'll be notified. Again, thanks for showing up and for listening. And thank you again, Rebecca. It's just been such a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, thank you. That was great. Nice to see you.